You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's October the 23rd, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. Good morning, Rev Cindy, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Al?
Not too bad at all, actually. I can tell you that outside it's a little cool, a little frost, late frost last night, but I'm doing all right.
We had an incredible lightning and thunderstorm here last night.
Oh, really?
Tons of rain.
Yeah, you sit there and watch that happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It just lit up my whole house whenever the lightning would go. Right? It was pretty incredible.
Dances across the sky. Yeah, they can be pretty. It can be quite the performance sometimes by lightning.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Anything new and exciting before we get into the news?
There's always stuff new and exciting, but then I take up the whole hour. So like I'm getting ready to head back out for the last quarter of my education when it comes to breath work, and that's kind of exciting.
Yes, exactly. For sure. I never heard of this breathwork stuff until you started talking about it. And sure enough, I see a post online, somebody looking for someone to deal with breathwork.
Yeah, which is kind of cool because he sent that to me, and one of my classmates lives close to her. So somebody that I studied with lives close to her, and I've got them talking, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll work out for both of them.
Good stuff. Talking about updates, we got an update on a story about our third story coming into the day. We have an update on something that happened out west here in Canada and a group home. But our first story of the day is something that I think is very important that people should be able to know. We are talking about a lot of raids and stuff in the mushrooms. And our first story has the headline that lets everybody know what this judge says.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we get started?
Right. We shall.
Okay. Here we go.
There we go. Coming from the Toronto Star. No, you don't have a charter rights to sell magic mushrooms, Ontario judge tells fugitive behind Fun Guy's dispensary chain.
Oh, do Canadians have a constitutional right to use and sell magic mushrooms? Consider a legal thought experiment. Many Canadians believe psychedelic substances such as psilocybin can be mind expanding, helping them explore new ways of thinking and creativity. But it's illegal to sell magic mushrooms under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. Then again, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms gives all Canadians the rights to freedom of thought. And shouldn't the Charter trump the law?
Oh, yeah. And this is given to us by Mama Earth. So should we be told that we're not allowed to use what grows from our earth? That, at least, was the thinking behind the high-profile court gambit launched by Samir Akil, one of the now fugitives behind the Fun Guy's dispensary chain, in an attempt to overturn Canada's drug laws. This was until this month when an Ontario judge gave Akil his answer. No, the charter does not give you the right to sell magic mushrooms.
The experience of taking a psychedelic drug is what freedom of thought was meant to protect, Judge George Orsini wrote in his decision. Akil's case goes back to 2023 when he was arrested for possession and trafficking at a Fun Guy store in London. Separately, he is also facing charges in a York Regional Police investigation called Project Magic, which looked into the Fun Guy's dispensary organization. In April 2025, the investigation resulted in more than 70 charges laid against 15 people and the seizure of more than $3.5 million worth of psychedelic drugs.
Akil himself is now at large and believed to be in Egypt, according to authorities. He is wanted for several charges, including trafficking psilocybin, identity fraud, and possession of property obtained by crime. The fungi's chain of illegal operating mushroom dispensaries at one point had 30 locations across Ontario and Quebec. In interviews, the management of the organization has been open that the goal is to mimic the path of illegal or, old school legacy is the word that we like to use, cannabis dispensaries played in helping push towards legalization.
Yeah, I've lost you. You got to move the screen.
Okay.
There you go. What we're doing is completely illegal. Akil told the CTV London Reporter in a 2023 interview that was cited in Orsini's decision. It says that what we're doing is a medical protest. It's an act of disobedience to get magic mushrooms legalized. We are trying to help people and give them access that the government can't provide.
Akila, who has a small tattoo of a mushroom under his eye, has repeated similar sentiments in interviews with The Star, expressing his passion for psilocybin and helping others access it. In Canadian law, you have an absolute right to challenge any law which you're charged, says Paul Lewin, who is Akil's lawyer for this constitutional challenge. Go, Paul. Explaining his client's motivation that people can't access psilocybin despite a legitimate right to use it. As for his absence from court, Lewin said, without elaborating, that Akil would like to be in Canada to face the charges and support this challenge, but has left the country because of threats to his life.
Oh, for Akil, if the laws against trafficking were struck down, it could void his trafficking charges. The court heard from 3 psilocybin users who spoke about their positive experiences and from psychedelic experts for both sides of the case. The court also heard from the professor of physiology who spoke about efforts to help define the legal concept of freedom of thought for the United States. United Nations.
The Crown described the challenge as an attack on the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, arguing that freedom of thought is meant to protect against state intrusion, manipulation, and punishment of thought, and does not create an entitlement to alter one's thoughts by using psychoactive medicines. If Akil's version of the law were accepted, then limited access to anything that affected mental activity would constitute infringement of freedom of thought, which cannot be the law, the Crown said.
Now, Orsini's 42-page decision includes a sprawling decision of the nature of psilocybin and the definition of what a thought is under the law. Although we found that psilocybin could provide mind-altering experiences that change people's perceptions, the thought-related effects of psilocybin are random and cannot be predicted in advance.
To the extent I agree with the Crown that psilocybin is not a precise tool for thought, Orsini wrote. He also cautioned that the science on psilocybin is still in its early stages, and in particular, its long-term health effects are unclear. Good Lord. Absent a valid medical purpose, our law does not recognize the right to consume controlled substances, the judge wrote. I'm like really being taken back to pre-cannabis legalization. If they think that they're avoiding it by whatever decision they've made just here, I mean, all they're doing is mirroring what happened. We've heard all of this about cannabis. All of it.
Now, speaking to the Star by phone, Lewin said he plans to appeal the decision, which he called deeply flawed. In particular, he said he takes issue with Orsini's finding that psilocybin doesn't have a predictable effects as a tool of thought. The process of thinking is inherently unpredictable. That was my thought too whenever we went over that sentence when the judge mentioned that.
Yeah. In a follow-up statement, he emphasized that for 3 users who testified, psilocybin transformed their lives for the better, making them better, more well-adjusted people. He continued, psilocybin is a freedom of thought tool, and access to freedom of thought tools subject to reasonable limits cannot be prohibited. Go, Paul Lewin, because you're not just speaking up for psilocybin, you're speaking up for all psychedelics.
Yeah.
Let's go.
As for the illegal mushroom dispensaries, they continue to operate brazenly in several locations across the city. Many fungi locations have been raided by the police, but they generally reopen quickly afterwards. Now, the York Region Police investigation into the fungi's organization came after a number of judges' decisions laminated that it was usually front-facing clerks with little knowledge of the dispensary's business who were the ones getting arrested. That's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, it's a profit-driven machine that is blatantly committing criminal activity, hiding behind, oh, we're trying to push for legalization. This is coming from Mike Cook, and he told the Star earlier this year. Good Lord, many illegal mushrooms dispensaries have come under attack over the past few years, usually in the middle of the night, with shots being fired at locations, cars being driven through front doors, or arsons being sent.
Yeah, only heard about those patients getting benefits. Only heard that once or twice in that article, whereas the violent end of things.
Yeah, and I'm, like I sit here before you. I mean, like cannabis, mushrooms were the first two medicines that I used. I mean, cannabis got me sober, and mushrooms helped me start to heal, and showed me the way to other psychedelics that did major things for me, including breath work, which is not even a substance, but it is a beautiful medicine.
Yeah. Like I said, I had never heard of it until you had mentioned it, and I thought, yeah, breathwork. We'll have to get some more information out of that down as time goes on. All right, talking about time to get on to the next story. Here we go.
Coming to us from StratCan, BC LDB temporarily suspends direct delivery, reporting requirements during strike.
The BC Liquor Distribution Branch is granting temporary suspension of its reporting requirements for its direct delivery program. This decision applies to the remainder of the strike affecting LBD cannabis wholesale operations. Now, the LBD sent a message to the industry about the changes on Friday, October the 17th, with the goal of reducing the administrative burden on BC licensed producers taking part in the direct delivery program. The program is limited to BC cannabis companies that produce less than 3,000 kilograms of dried, unpackaged cannabis on an annual basis.
Producers will still be required to continue tracking all sales made during this time and report them once the strike action is resolved as follows. Sales for reporting periods already closed must be reported to the LDB within 5 business days of the resumption of LDB cannabis wholesale operations, and sales from the current reporting period can be reported according to the regular reporting schedule, for example, within 15 days of the end of the month.
Markup on all sales will be calculated and debited from producer accounts once sales are processed. The current reporting period refers to the time period when the strike ends. This means that if wholesale operations were to resume any time before November the 14th, sales would be due by November the 15th, which is the regular reporting schedule. September sales would be due within 5 business days of the restart. However, if operations resume on or after November the 15th, October sales would be due within 5 business days of the restart, along with the September sales.
Wow. Walker Patton, a founder of the BC Cannabis Alliance, which worked with the LDB to create the temporary change, praised the LDB for its swift response. This is good news, and we'd like to give the BC LDB some credit here, said Patton. After we reached out, they gave us some timely advice on how we should make our request. We followed that advice, and our formal request was approved just a few days later. That level of support was a little unexpected and makes us feel good about how these dynamics are evolving.
Still, he highlights that the Alliance and others in the industry continue to advocate for the long-term goal of removing the province's 15% proprietary fee for direct delivery entirely. Yeah, I agree. BC charges the same 15% fee for those using the direct delivery program as if charges those going through the province's central delivery system, despite the province never even touching the product. Like, this is just insane. charging. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. They're doing nothing but, yeah. Ultimately, the key issue here remains the BC LBD's 15% priority charge. At the time when BC small producers really stepped up for the province, we'd like to see the government consider some form of markup relief to support the industry, similar to what was done to invest into the BC craft beer industry in 2016 and the wine industry in 2024. I mean, really, I agree with what you said. And what popped in my mind as I was reading is, like that 15% is to pay for the building that they're keeping it in, the vehicles that are using that to be shipped, etc.
The staff that they would have hired, all that stuff.
That's not coming into it at all. That shouldn't even be a part of it. So that was just popping into my mind. I had to get it out of my mouth. Cannabis producers in BC have been calling for changes to what BC calls its proprietary fee since the direct delivery program was first launched in 2022, amidst a similar strike that also shut down the province's central cannabis warehouse.
The BC Government Employees Union launched their most recent strike on September the 2nd. And on September the 22nd, the strike expanded to include the LBD's cannabis warehouse, once again halting all incoming shipments from producers and outgoing shipments to more than 500 retailers in the province. Now, in October, the strike expanded to also include all 40 provincial-run BC cannabis stores. Now, the BC GEU and the BC government entered into mediation on October the 18th to seek a resolution between the two parties. The widespread job action seeks to address wage demands from the union, which represents 34,000 BC public service workers. It is seeking a 2-year deal with 4% raise for the first year and 4.2% the second year. And the BC government has been offering 3.5% over 2 years.
Yeah, the union said on October 21st that it had reached an agreement with the employer on several important issues, with discussions ongoing.
So there you go. Still ongoing. It's not over yet. It's still ongoing. Maybe they're making some space or making some headway on things, but yeah. Oh, before I forget, we do the news, we cover things all the time, right? One thing we didn't talk about in the news. We didn't talk about last week, and I didn't talk about it on Thursday. 7th anniversary of cannabis legalization has come and gone.
Yes. Yeah. And look at how far it has actually come in the last 7 years. I mean, when it first started, and the rules and the product that was on the shelves was, and now it's come a long way. We both have enjoyed cannabis coming from legal sources, and it's not all bad anymore.
It's it has evolved, and it still needs updating.
Oh, absolutely, right? And I recognize that as well.
Yeah.
But I also recognize how far the laws have come, and how far, the fact that they've allowed more producers, small producers, craft producers that don't use pesticides, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's we've come a long way. Still a long way to go, but we've come a long way.
Exactly. All right. Time for us to move on. And here comes the next story.
Coming to us from CBC, Spirit Rising House fined $35,000 for giving cannabis to kids in care in Winnipeg. Charges against owners stayed.
Yes, this is a follow-up of a story that we did months ago. And I was surprised and glad to see it in the news today so we can find out what happened in the end. But it says that all charges against the owners of a foster agency that gave cannabis to children in care were stayed on Tuesday after a plea bargain was reached that saw the organization, Spirit Rising House, plead guilty and pay a $35,000 fine. John Bennett, Christine Ormiston, Ian Rabb, and Kelly Register, the owners of the Spirit Rising House, were charged in September 2024 with distributing illicit cannabis and providing cannabis to a young person.
Charges against 3 others who worked for the agency were also stayed on Tuesday. Significant discussions led federal crown and lawyers for Spirit Rising House to reach a joint recommendation, courts heard.
Spirit Rising House, the corporation, pleaded guilty under the Federal Cannabis Act to distributing cannabis as an organization. Now, Spirit Rising House was a Winnipeg-based for-profit company that ran foster homes and 2 specialized group homes for 34 high-risk youth in child and family services care.
It closed in March of 2024 after an internal investigation by Southeast Child and Family Services found at-risk children in the company's care were being given cannabis as a means of harm reduction. The agreed statement of facts read in court by federal Crown Attorney Alana Parishin said the 4 owners each had a 25% share in the Spirit Rising House.
Now, the Winnipeg police began investigating the homes in February following a Southeast investigation, and several search warrants were executed. Now, according to the agreed statements of facts, it says, the evidence collected established that Spirit Rising House was supplying cannabis, both illicit and dispensary, to youth in their care to manage their behavior.
Ormiston, Bennett, and Register endorsed this form of harm reduction and supplied cannabis to several homes, Parishin said. RAB was aware staff were providing cannabis to the children in care, court heard.
Staff were told by the owners that they had permission from Child and Welfare Services to give cannabis to the youth, but that was not true, the court heard. 2 of the 34 youth had medical prescriptions for cannabis. Provincial Court Judge Kushman Sharma asked the Court Crown what factors went into recommending a fine of $35,000.
I don't think there's evidence that individuals who were operating this organization were intending to hurt anyone, Parishin said. I think they went about it in the wrong way.
Parishin says they didn't consult with a physician or provide treatment program for the youth. Richard Olson, one of the lawyers for Spirit House Rising, said the fine will be paid by the end of the day from a check that has been held in trust.
It was the intention of this corporation to do well for the youth that they had, Olson told the judge, and they wanted to prevent the youth from going to the streets for harder drugs. These were some high-risk children. They had addictions. The streets were dangerous to them. And Sharma accepted the joint recommendation.
Yep, there you go. So they weren't just giving them cannabis so they could go out and get high. They were using it to help
harm reduction.
Yeah, it sounds like it was only like 1 or 2 of the children, but it was there to.
And they're not telling us the exact ages of these children. I mean, like, were they children? Were they young adult teenagers? Were they, how old were these kids? 2 of them had prescriptions. Was somebody outside, like somebody who didn't have a prescription? Like we weren't given all of the information, but it was used as a medicine for harm reduction.
Right.
And we know that cannabis works as a harm reduction medicine.
Yeah, and from the way I took it there at the end, the judge, took that into account, the fact that they were using it for harm reduction, and it wasn't just something they were giving to them willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly, yeah.
Yeah. So, all righty, 1, 2, 3, 4. Last story before we go to break. Here we go.
Coming to us from where are we? Green State Field Guide newsletter.
Green State.
No, Green State. We are. Yeah, I had a pop-up. Trump could reschedule cannabis this month, sources say.
The cannabis community has been on the edge of its seat as the federal government considers moving the plant to a less restrictive status. President Trump hinted in August that a decision on rescheduling will be coming within a few weeks. But 2 months later, the administration is still mum. The posting of a pro-CBD video to Trump's social media sent the industry into a frenzy, and many believing it would be a clue for what's to come. Now the president's staff is hinting that those suspicions may have been correct. An unnamed White House spokesman told the Free Press a decision on rescheduling is likely by the end of the year, but could come as soon as this month. Another anonymous White House official admitted rescheduling is good politics, given that the majority of Republicans favor legalization.
When it comes to rescheduling, many within the president's orbit indicate signs pointing to yes. Alex Briswitz, a Trump advisor, told the Free Press moving cannabis to Schedule 3 is a politically savvy move. He added, it's a meaningful compromise since the plant would remain a controlled substance but allows for more testing for medicinal purposes. He did, however, admit that he has not discussed the topic with the president. Earlier this year, two cannabis industry professionals with the president's ear proclaimed Trump would keep his campaign promise to ease federal restrictions on the plant. One of them was Kim Rivers, CEO of Trulieve, a massive multi-state operator in the cannabis market. The Florida-based businesswoman attended at least 2 inauguration events this past February and has reportedly met with Trump on the topic of cannabis reform.
Meanwhile, Trump announced the appointment of a Michigan-based cannabis entrepreneur as a special envoy to Iraq. Mark Savella is the founder of Leaf and Bud, a chain of dispensaries once criticized for its aggressive marketing tactics. While Savella is likely not using his cannabis knowledge in his new position, it's hard to imagine he has not discussed the topic with the president, given the considerable amount of time they have spent together. Despite Go ahead.
Despite the rumors, it remains to be seen if the president will reclassify cannabis. Only time will tell how the administration will move. But at this point, many cannabis advocates are hopeful.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple down in the U.S. They're hopeful. But there's the odd time I do hear them saying, uh-oh. I sort of look at it as, action can speak louder than words because of the people that he has appointed.
Yeah.
But you just never know, sharing that video of the CBD end of things. He's talked positive about the medicinal end. Who knows? Maybe he'll just federally legalize medicinal cannabis and not recreational.
A step forward is a step forward is a step forward. And
Yeah.
I hope that he makes a move.
It's got to be, something's got to be done. It's just ridiculous. So, all righty. Talking about getting things done. It's time for us to take a break and time for us to medicate. We'll be right back after that session. We are live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, They offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back. I was wondering whether I was going to say I'm back.
No, I'm back. I spilled tea on me during the opening credits, so I just finally got a chance to run off and get rid of wet clothing. So,
spilled tea. That's got to be hot.
It was well, not really hot, but it was near the end of the cup of tea, but still. Yeah.
Okay. Just so you know, just so everybody knows, we got a story in the second half about making cannabinoids. Let's make it that way, cannabinoids with yeast. So we'll have to get to that and find out what's going on there.
I'm excited.
They're all right. Well, I got the next story all lined up and ready to go. Here we go.
Okie dokie. Coming to us from International Cannabis Business Conference, Manitoba cannabis revenue growth outpaces alcohol and gambling.
Good stuff. Canada remains the top legal national cannabis market on the planet, and a glowing example of how countries should approach cannabis public policy and industry regulation. Canada became the second country to adopt national adult use cannabis legalization in 2018 and the first G7 nation to implement the public policy change. Whereas cannabis prohibition policies waste a tremendous amount of limited public resources and generate no public revenue, jobs, or economic stimulus in local economies, a sensible and regulated approach to cannabis commerce helps local governments and communities, including in Manitoba, where the emerging cannabis industry growth is outpacing the growth of other large industries.
Cannabis provided a big revenue buzz for Manitoba liquor and lotteries during the most recent fiscal year, with sales of cannabis flower, extract, and edibles fueling more revenue growth for the Crown Corporation than sales of alcohol or any form of gaming revenue, reported the CBC in its local coverage. Cannabis revenue for liquor and lotteries rose by $16.5 million during the 12-month period ending on March 31st, increasing from $154 million in 23-24 to just over $170 for 24-25, according to the corporation's annual report. The outlet also reported.
We saw continued growth in the number of cannabis stores that has contributed to strong year-over-year profit growth. Manitobans will soon be able to buy cannabis seeds legally and will continually are growing our product catalog to assist Manitoba's private retailers meet the customers' demand, according to Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. Now, according to the regulatory agency's report, there are now 229 licensed cannabis retailer outlets spread across Manitoba with improved access in rural and city areas, leading to an increase in sales.
MBLL is mandated to secure a safe supply of cannabis and to coordinate the distribution of cannabis to all licensed retailers in the province. MBLL maintains a catalog of available cannabis products, including dried flower, edibles, extracts, and topicals. The cannabis industry has experienced substantial growth since legalization, with competitive pricing, a significant increase in the variety of higher quality products, and a growing number of stores. And this is coming from Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. A separate report published earlier this year found that in 2024, Canada's legal cannabis industry contributed more than $16 billion with a B, to national GDP, and generated roughly, again with a B, $29 billion in total economic output.
Canada's legal cannabis industry's direct GDP contribution in 2024 was more than that of the forestry and logging sector, breweries, and wineries and distilleries. The report also found that Canada's legal cannabis industry supported over 227,000 jobs across the country in 2024.
I just want to compare numbers just because we can. 2024, Canada's legal cannabis industry contributed more than 16 billion, whereas if we go on here, forestry and logging was 3.4 billion.
Yeah.
Breweries, so we're only 2.6 billion. Wineries and distilleries didn't even make $1 billion. So yeah,
No.
let's go cannabis.
Yeah, and the thing too that I saw there that was, I thought, small anyways, was the fact that the number of stores in Manitoba wouldn't even probably be equal to what's in Toronto.
Oh no, I think you guys have like over 1,000 within the Toronto, like
Well,
even
in Ontario, we're looking at about 1,800.
1,800. And I thought the majority of them were in. And when I say like 1,000-ish, I mean like including the suburbs and
Oh, the
whatnot.
GTA, the whole thing. Yeah,
The
there's a
whole
lot
thing.
of stores. It's just
Yeah, tons of them. And like, I mean, really, it can be like you guys have the most, but you're still like, it's a big province. The whole province isn't catered to yet.
it is a huge problem. It's like it takes. I got I'm in. I guess you could call it sort of South Central Ontario, and I'm still 24 hours to drive to Manitoba from here.
That western northern area of Ontario driving through is just brutal.
Oh, will it ever end?
And for that big vast area, like I mean, there really isn't much for cannabis stores,
No.
right? So yeah, it's
Yeah, well, Al, he lives in Terrace Bay up north, right? He's 13 hours north of me, and he's got access to one store.
one legal store.
One legal store, yeah. That's it. So, all right, time for us to move on. Next story.
Yeah, coming to us from CNN. I love this. The name of it. Is there more to magic mushrooms than psilocybin?
Good question. Very good question. In a suburb of Vancouver, Canada, a nondescript 3-story building sits alongside a strip of parking lots. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary commercial office space, but inside is something more extraordinary. Rows of shelves stacked with plastic tubs full of magic mushrooms that contain the hallucinogenic chemical psilocybin. Now, in a year, enough psychedelic mushrooms can be produced here to send 80,000 people on hallucinogenic trips. Psilocybin is a regulated illicit substance in most countries, including Canada. But in this facility, run by Filament Health, the mushrooms are not grown for the black market. They are destined for research and clinical trials. These mushrooms could help determine if something important has been missing from psychedelic research.
Psilocybin is a psychedelic compound that, once broken down by the body into psilocin, activates receptors in the brain to unleash mind-altering experience. After decades of stigmatization, research on psychedelics is finally having a heyday. The research on psilocybin is unveiling its potential to treat challenging mental health conditions like depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and stimulant and opiate use disorders. To date, most scientific research on psilocybin has been done with synthetic versions of the compound, which is 4-ACO-DMT, by the way, not psilocybin from the magic mushrooms themselves. Psilocybin was first synthesized in 1958, and synthetic psilocybin has remained the gold standard for testing due to its consistency and cheap production.
But a small group of scientists posted that the magic of these mushrooms is more than their psilocybin alone. Over a dozen different compounds have been identified in magic mushrooms, and some researchers think certain ones can contribute to the duration and intensity of a psychedelic trip, indicators of a phenomenon referred to as the entourage effect. Cannabis, here we go again. Not only in the laws, but the entourage effect. Now, it says that everybody kind of takes it for granted that, yes, it's the psilocybin that produces all those psychedelic effects, which probably, for the large part, that's true, says Ryan Moss, Chief Science Officer at Filament Health. But you have a lot of different compounds in there that can probably aid or modulate the experience.
Some researchers hypothesize that this entourage effect could also help create better psilocybin-based medicines with benefits like a reduced chance of a bad trip or an increased trip intensity or duration that could aid treatment. But the data are still scarce, and some scientists are skeptical. My unsolicited opinion is that the entourage effect discussion around psilocybin mushrooms is a bit overhyped and not well supported by solid data, says chemist Alex Sherwood of the Usona Institute, who has studied compounds in magic mushrooms.
Filament Health is hoping to add the existing data. It is one of just a handful of companies worldwide that are growing magic mushrooms to produce naturally derived psilocybin medicines that retain the secondary compounds found in the mushrooms. Currently, the company is focusing on research and providing its natural derived psychedelic medicine candidates to dozens of researchers around the world who are rigorously vetting their potential medical merits. Clinical trials with the psilocybin medicines are ongoing to test its effectiveness in conditions like major depression disorder and prolonged grief. Meanwhile, the results of other research projects on secondary compounds are becoming available. While no human trials directly comparing synthetic and extracted psilocybins have been conducted, chemical, biological, and medical researchers are investigating magic mushroom secondary compounds from multiple angles. The emerging data are painting a complicated picture of a group of mushrooms people have been using for hundreds, if not thousands, of years, and adding fuel to the debate about whether the entourage effect even exists.
Researchers first coined the term entourage effect in 1998 to hypothesize the possible contribution of secondary pharmacological initiative compounds in cannabis. Upon the discovery of the monoglycerols that inhibited the metabolism of a cannabinoid, today the term is being increasingly used in reference to psilocybin products, which, unlike products in the cannabis industry, are dominated by synthesis. The inclination towards synthetic psilocybin is understandable. Growing Psilocybe cubanis, the most cultivated psychedelic mushroom, is not an easy task. Besides all the regulatory hurdles, these mushrooms are highly sensitive to their environmental conditions and susceptible to contamination. Actually, they're really not that hard to grow.
Right. Even in carefully controlled conditions, each individual mushroom develops variations in its psilocybin content and chemical composition. And on top of all these barriers, magic mushrooms contain a mass fraction of only a few percent psilocybin. These challenges have not discouraged Filament Health. To ensure consistency in dosing, the company goes beyond growing its product. After harvest, its mushrooms are dried in a commercial dehydrator before being crushed into a powder. In a proprietary 7-step extraction process, all the non-active compounds like sugars and chitin are removed. What remains is a concoction of psilocybin and secondary alkaloids that mimics the profile of the original mushroom.
The process allows Filament Health to ensure an easily testable, consistent, and stable product that can be more readily administered in clinical tests. Moss and his co-workers at Filament Health believe that this month-long process is worth the effort because they are strong believers in the entourage effect. It's easy to reduce everything down. And I mean, as a chemist, I understand, Moss says, but he thinks the synthetic approach of simply isolating psilocybin is missing a lot of things.
Notably, it misses the dozens of compounds that have been identified in magic mushrooms. Filament Health's PEX-010, the psilocybin drug candidate created from its extraction process, retains 27 different alkaloids. Whether those compounds are medically important remains to be seen. The ones currently commanding the most attention are the ones that, like psilocybin, are triptylines. Oh, there's a couple words in here that are nasty. You want to try them?
Yeah, they're tryptamines, and
Are they?
I'm gonna try this. Baeocystin, norbacysteine, and I don't know.
The compounds are structurally similar to psilocybin, varying by the number of methyl groups pinned into the molecules.
Okay. Well, that was interesting words.
Yes.
Some research has found that the metabolite of all of these creates just as strong of a response to a key receptor in the brain as psilocin. But other evidence suggests that norpsilocin is too polar to even cross the blood-brain barrier to reach the right neuroreceptor. Concentrations of these tryptamines in magic mushrooms are also significantly lower than the concentration of psilocybin. Sherwood, who has studied magic mushroom tryptamines, is skeptical. The most compelling evidence suggests that compounds like these don't significantly contribute to the psychoactive effect of these mushrooms.
Beyond tryptamines, researchers have also identified trace amounts of 9 terpenes and half a dozen different carbolines like harmine and harmine. Carbolines are thought to play an important role in ayahuasca, the plant-based psychedelic, and some think they could be important in modulating the duration of magic mushroom strips. But the concentrations of these are thousands of times lower than the ayahuasca, leaving some scientists to caution skepticism. What about the terpenes?
There's definitely, I don't know, but that's interesting. There's definitely a chance that certain compounds could change the action of these mushrooms, says chemist Claudius Lenz of the Helmholtz Center for Environmental Research, who first identified norpsilocin in magic mushrooms. But I'm more curious with this entourage effect than many of my colleagues. Some of these secondary compounds found in psilocybe mushrooms, like terpenes, have been extensively studied in cannabis. But despite decades of research, the evidence for the entourage effect in cannabis and cannabidiol, more commonly known as CBD, remains scant. A 2020 meta-study concluded that claims of the entourage effect in cannabis are largely unsubstantiated and at times contradictory. They go against each other. Yeah.
Now, a lack of regulation in cannabis has left space for some claims to be widely used in marketing, such as in whole plant and full spectrum products, which tout the therapeutic claims of the entourage effect. Some researchers are concerned that similar claims could abound in the magic mushroom industry, even as the science is unsettled. I'm surprised about that. I don't think I can't recall hearing that full spectrum and whole plant are just marketing tools and not.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I have used straight THC. I have used straight CBD. I have used other products that they've extracted, and I get the best working medicine when I use these compounds together.
Yeah, like I go looking for live rosin when it comes to or live resin when it comes to vape cartridges. I don't look for distillates.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So, all right, continue on. Now, where were we? The entourage effect. Now, the state of research into the entourage effect in cannabis spans dwarfs. I think you've already done that, didn't you?
I did, but it was in a different paragraph.
Yeah. Okay. All right. They say it spans decades, dwarfs the emerging work being done on the same effect in psilocybin, but the lack of conclusive evidence has not dampened the enthusiasm of many psilocybin researchers. With the increased scrutiny and security on the mushrooms, a more rigorous, ground-up scientific approach is being taken for psilocybin, some say. Now, according to psychiatrist and psychopharmacologist Bernard Lear, he says that people are so busy making money out of cannabis that they don't bother to do research with cannabis very much. Yes. But there is much, much more fundamental research on psychedelics than there's ever been on cannabis.
Anecdotal reports have suggested that magic mushrooms can have a stronger intensity and different visual effects than synthetic psilocybin. Those reports intrigued Lear, who set out to conduct some of the first animal tests of the entourage effect in magic mushrooms. I can actually get my hands on the 4-ACO-DMT, which is synthetic mushroom, and I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to have to do my own experiment, I think. In a 2024 study supported by Entheno Biosciences, a biotech company that Lear advises that is developing psychedelic therapeutics, researchers gave one group of mice synthetic psilocybin and others a mushroom extract. By recording the mice's head twitches, they determined that the substances induced similarly intense and long-lasting trips, but they found some differences in how the mice's bodies responded.
When an animal is given a drug, different metabolites accumulate as a result of the drug's interaction with the body. Particularly, the results showed that the extract, which included a number of compounds in addition to psilocybin, created a larger metabolic response. But more surprisingly, Lear says, was the extract's effect on proteins involved in making new connections between brain cells. What we found was that there is a greater production of synaptic protein following administration of mushrooms extract containing psilocybin than there is given in psilocybin alone. The researchers used Western blot analysis to measure synaptic protein production. They say it would appear that mushroom extract increases synaptic plasticity more than psilocybin alone.
It is well known that psilocybin promotes neuroplasticity. In fact, this is why some researchers believe psilocybin's effects can have long-lasting results. But the findings, Lear said, suggest other compounds are at work. Some researchers, Sherwood included, remain skeptical. Both Brian Roth, who is an MD and PhD who studies the pharmacology of psychoactive substances at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and was not involved in the study, believes the results need to be verified using complementary independent methods to measure the proteins.
The differential effect noted on two synaptic proteins is exceeding modest, Roth says, adding that for some protein measurements, no difference was seen. On the whole, I'm always a bit skeptical of findings when Western blot analysis where very small differences are measured. Lear himself notes that the differences in synaptic protein production seen between the synthetic and extracted forms of psilocybin was not statistically significant. Still, Lear suspects tryptophanines could be responsible for the increase in synaptic proteins, but at this stage, it's just a hunch.
Further differences between mushroom extracts and synthetic psilocybin were seen in a second study on mice. Lear and his colleagues found the mushroom extract produced a stronger effect on reducing behaviors associated with anxiety than did synthetic psilocybin. But they found mushroom extract and synthetic psilocybin had the same effect on reducing excessive self-grooming, a trait representing OCD. While the study has seen some criticism for its methods and analysis, the findings, if proven, could help demonstrate the potential for targeted strategies using magic mushrooms to treat OCD and anxiety. Tawari, who's a psychedelics researcher at the Center for Psychedelic and Consciousness Research at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, says the studies are interesting and should be followed up on, but cautions against directly interpreting the results for clinical use.
There's a lot that needs to be done before we can be sure, they say. We need more comprehensive studies, both preclinical and clinical, in which one tries to tease out the different entourage molecules and find out which of them are making significant contributions. I think that's the biggest challenge of all, Lear says.
Yeah.
Yeah, this keeps on going. It's quite the story.
It is.
Yeah, do you want to keep going? We should, or I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, it's 11:54. We've got 2 more stories.
Yeah. But
well, 10:54 US.
Yeah, that exactly. As far as the story goes, maybe
That was a good story.
Those other compounds, some researchers are doubtful, but keep doing research and keep looking.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like we know that these substances help. We've got a millennia of research if they will accept it, but it's not the scientific research explaining why and how. And these people that do this work, that's what they love to see and figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, let's get on to the next story, get moving. And normally these guys have got a short story, so let's see how this one is. Here we go.
We'll see. Coming to us from International Cannabis Business Conference, strong support for legalization in the Netherlands.
Yes. It is no secret the Netherlands has long been home to one of the most well-established cannabis communities on the planet. For decades, Amsterdam has served as one of the top international cannabis tourism destinations. While cannabis is and has been technically illegal in the Netherlands, personal cannabis activity has been largely tolerated. In recent years, Amsterdam, and to a lesser extent other parts of the Netherlands, have succeeded popularity among cannabis enthusiasts to other jurisdictions as more countries have modernized their cannabis policy to permit personal cannabis activity.
The cannabis reform movement in the Netherlands has a chance to receive a significant boost as the nation's Dutch House of Representatives elections approach. The election will be held 1 week from today, so on Wednesday, October 29th, 1 week from yesterday. Many political parties reportedly hold favorable views towards cannabis legalization heading into the election. The editors of the Cannabis Voter Guide examined the election manifestos on 19 political parties for their cannabis friendliness for the Dutch House of Representatives elections on Wednesday. The editors also asked the political parties 3 questions to clarify their positions in their manifestos. And this is coming to us from Rights the Foundation of Society and Cannabis, and we're translating from Dutch.
It says the foundation wrote that 10 parties participating in the Dutch parliamentary elections, ranging from the far left to the far right, want to legalize cannabis. This is evident from the overview of the party's positions on cannabis published today by the Association for the Abolition of Cannabis Prohibition. Striking cannabis legalization isn't a left-wing or a right-wing position, but cuts across both party lines.
Yeah. Amsterdam is amazing because like everybody goes out to the coffee houses.
Yes. Now, as it stands right now, Uruguay, Canada, Malta, Luxembourg, Germany, South Africa, and the Czech Republic have adopted national adult use legalization measures. Czechia's legalization law is still set to take effect January the 1st, 2026, and hopefully the upcoming election in the Netherlands will be favorable and further boost the chances of the Netherlands also expressly adopting national legalization.
The Netherlands officially launched its first pilot trials in Breda and Tilburg back in December of 2023. And since that time, the research projects have expanded into other spots, as are listed here. Previous polling found that 60% of residents in the Netherlands support the nation having a regulated cannabis industry.
Well, there you go. All righty. Now, yeast. Let's get into the yeast and the thing. Now, I know we talked briefly before we went live. Now, have you ever heard of this?
This is something new to me.
All right. Here we go. You're going to learn. See, you can be involved all this time and you can still learn something. That's right. Educational news, right?
Woohoo!
All right. Here we go.
Here we go. Coming to us from the Hemp Gazette. Cannabinoids produced from yeast.
That's right. Researchers have been able to get a form of yeast to produce cannabinoids, but much more work needs to be done to generate commercially viable quantities. Yarrow-Lipotica is a non-pathogenic yeast already in wide use, given to its unique physiological and biochemical properties. It's commonly used in food-related applications as an additive. Now, it also has potential in biofuel production, as it can be engineered to accumulate high amounts of lipids, which are feedstock for biodiesel.
Here's a new potential use, the production of cannabinoids through biosynthesis. Well, interesting. The researchers reportedly achieved the de novo biosynthesis of various cannabinoids and their analogs. De novo biosynthesis is the process of creating complex molecules from simple, obscure molecules, rather than reusing components from the breakdown of larger molecules. The researchers from various Chinese and Israel universities state our engineered Y-Lipotica produced 3.5 milligrams per liters
CBG.
CBG acid, 18.8 of another acid, 0.5 milligram of cannabinogeneric acid. Additionally, the CBGA titter reached 15.7 milligram per liter with oleic acid supplementation. Wow. This work demonstrates the versatility of this yeast as a promising host for the production of cannabinoids and their analogs, which opens avenues for further research and medicinal applications.
Yeah. Now, CBG acid is a key cannabinoid acting as a primary precursor for all pentyl side chain cannabinoids, such as THC, CBD, and CBN. Their work claimed to represent the first reported production of these cannabinoids in such a way was published earlier this year in the journal Biodesign Research. Beyond cannabinoids, the researchers say approaches described in their work can also be extended to the biosynthesis of other complex natural products, paving the way for innovative applications in biotechnology and medicine.
Wow. Funding for the research was supported by the National Natural Science Foundation of China. In addition to potentially using yeast as a source for cannabinoids, plants other than hemp and cannabis also contain them. For example, Threma microtum, which is cannabisaceae, which is a common plant in Brazil, is a promising new source of cannabinoids, including CBD.
There you go. Yeah, I had heard about this quite a while ago, about the yeast end of things and how they can pinpoint certain cannabinoids that they want. Now, back then, they were talking about fermenting. Now they're talking about, I guess, biosynthesis and all this other stuff. So,
yeah, wow,
yeah,
very interesting.
Yeast to make your cannabinoids. That way, they don't need to grow the plant. Right?
Still pretty cool.
They can make their own. All righty. Anything else you want to get into?
Oh, I don't think so. It's the weekend coming up, folks. Have a great one.
That's right. Exactly. Well, that's our report for today. Thanks for our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City Hydroponics, and At-Eze.ca. I'll get it out. Now, in closing, as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not curse.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.